that may have happened in the South, but you can't classify a whole group of people by that one thing. And that's my biggest issue. And I wish that there were more groups that were fighting for the rights of the minorities that people kind of sweep under the rug. Like, for instance, for black people, they have the NAACP, which is the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. And they fight for our rights, but how many groups do you see? And there are plenty of black rights groups like the Black Panthers and the NAACP, et cetera, et cetera. But how many Islamic groups do you see that fight for the rights of Islam?
Okay, so what we'll do, we'll take this second commercial break, and we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break.
Impact players. In my own world. Like I told you about the airport incident. It's crazy. We were all going through, I was coming back from D.C. because I was with the Junior National Young Leaders Conference.
Okay, well, let's see. We say that all groups deserve civil rights, 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments.
That's the right to vote, the right to...
Citizenship, right? They are citizens, and they have the right to vote. And they have the 13th, 14th, and the 15th. The 13th Amendment is freed slavery, and the 14th Amendment is citizenship.
Abolished slavery, gave us the right to vote and the right to citizenship.
That's right, and so
everybody deserves that.
Working around in there and talk about that. Some of the things that make us all alike in spite of what religion or what situation we might find ourselves in.
So 13 slavery, 14 vote.
Yeah, and the 14th citizenship.
Okay,
15th.
so slavery, citizen, vote.
Yeah, and put much information on the importance of voting too, because we're in a voting season and whatever, and et cetera.
Don't let Donald Trump.
Huh?
Yeah, okay.
You know, just that's what I'm, talk about, the basic constitutional rights that people have. The 13th Amendment black folks had because they were slaves. In the 14th Amendment, they became citizens, and the 15th Amendment allowed them the right to vote. And now, when we talk about voting, this is where it's needed. People like people in your situation. And thank you, and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. We're talking to Alana McLaughlin, and she's giving us some information in reference to anti-Islamic sentiment in the United States of America. Now, Alana, you've covered quite a bit of information during the first and second segment. Let's give you the opportunity during the final segment to deal with some of the other aspects of this anti-Islamic sentiment.
All right, and so if you're just tuning in the second segment, I talked about one personal experience that I saw anti-Semitism. Sentiment, oh my God, sentiment going on towards a man who was carrying a Quran. He had on a traditional dress from some country. I'm not quite sure because I haven't really taken any cultural classes. But he was an American. He was carrying a Quran, so I'm going to make an inference that the man was a Muslim. And so we were kind of okay, I was in Washington, D.C., so I was at John F. Kennedy Airport, and I was trying to go to Nashville. And so I was going through TSA, and he was behind me. And so I got all my stuff packed. I put it in the little cubbies. They put it through. I got my stuff back. It was over with. And I was waiting on the chaperones that I was with to accompany me onto the flight and all that. So I kind of sat down, and I was observing what else was going on at the airport. And I saw TSA kind of giving the man who was behind me a hard time. Like, for instance, what they would do, like, this is his Quran. They would open it and just, like, kind of manhandle it, trying to see if there was anything in there, and they were shaking it. Like, it was, and it didn't look in too great a condition, so it looked like it could have snapped like that. And it was just, they were doing so much extra, and that really just made my blood boil, because at that time there wasn't anything I can do, because I couldn't go up there, because once you go through TSA, I couldn't go straight because as he was coming through it, I couldn't go through that line, and everything was too busy, so I couldn't really do anything about it except, you know, tell the chaperones I was with, and even they expressed their own disgust about it. And that just really made me think, wow, like that's something that happens so often, but it's never reported on websites, etc. But let that have been any other race getting racially profiled, I promise you it would have been everywhere. If that was me and they were double checking my stuff and asking me stupid stuff like, do I live in Chicago, or do I have a father, and stupid stereotypical things like that, trust me, it would have been on News Channel 5 like that, or on Fox 17.
So you find that this is quite prevalent. It's quite prevalent in terms of the denial in a real sense of people's constitutional rights.
It is.
Citizenship rights and whatnot. Is that what you're saying here?
It is, and that's why I feel like there are certain political candidates who do not encourage